Hello, everyone, and welcome to a video special. It's a pre-season video special, as you can see on the screen, and it really is special because we've got our 2022 FF UK champion, Ossama Mouslimani, with us. Hi, Ossama, how are you doing?
Hello, it's nice to be here. It's nice to talk to you guys. I'm fine, thank you. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, we're excellent, thank you. And thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Really appreciate it. And I know everyone in the league appreciates it as well because they get to pick your brains via a few questions and we can find out how you did it last season and also, more importantly, what you're thinking about this season, because that's perhaps more relevant now. To help me with this interview from is Pete. So from his new place. I think hopefully you're wearing shorts there, Pete. I think we just got a bit of a view.
I've got shorts on too. Don't worry, I'm not just in my t-shirt as normal. I'll put some shorts on because it's a special occasion.
Fantastic. And are you enjoying pre-season, Pete? How's it going?
Pre-season's going quite well. Yeah, I haven't watched that many games yet. I think I watched half the Newcastle match the other day. It's exciting. There's loads going on. There's, of course, a few big name signings and arguably a few that have left the league, which may have an effect on it. I'm intrigued. I'm raring to go.
That is what we like to hear. And what about you, Ossama? How are you enjoying the off season?
I haven't been watching many of the games. Been busy with finishing my exams and stuff, but I have been following up with the transfers. Different clubs, different players coming in and out, tweaking my fantasy team. I've probably had like 10 drafts by now.
Nice.
Absolutely, yeah. I think I'm on about draft 5 or 6 as well. I just worry that my first draft might be the best one I did, but there we go.
Absolutely.
So, should we get straight into it then? We've got some questions. Pete and I are going to ask the questions, obviously. We've got a few slides as well. So let's start. We'll start with something really simple. Ossama, do you have a team that you support?
Yes, I'm a Chelsea supporter.
That is great news. Great news. So Pete and I are also Chelsea supporters.
Oh, really?
So how did that come about then? Why Chelsea?
So I got into watching football from my father, and then he really liked Jose Mourinho. And I remember watching the Champions League final 2004 when Porto won, and then Roman Abramovich took over Chelsea, brought Mourinho as a manager. They won that first season, and then ever since I've been following Chelsea.
That was a really exciting time as well, wasn't it? Because obviously Abramovich came in. As you say, bought in Jose, and that was just, as a Chelsea fan, that was just amazing. You know, riding the wave of that for a few years. It didn't work out quite as well the second time when he came back, but we still won the league with him. But he's still a legend, and he seems to wind everyone else up. Jose,
of course,
which I kind of still enjoy seeing him work his Machiavellian kind of schemes.
And I still follow Roma just because of him. And I just look at the results and see how they're doing. And they're my team in the Italian league just purely because of Jose Mourinho.
There you go. And they've got Tammy now as well. So, that's great.
Dybala as well.
They got Dybala just now. Yeah. So in terms of, that's the first question out of the way. So, Pete.
So it comes to me. So how long have you been playing FPL for, Ossama?
The earliest memory I have of FPL is putting Robinho on my team for Man City. So I would say that was 2008, 2009. I remember when he joined the league and the huge hype around that. I still remember he went for 9 million. He was the first player in my draft, Robinho. But that was my old account, and then I lost my email, and I think I took one season off where I didn't play, and then came back 2013-14 with this new account that I have right now.
Because I did have a look at. I had a look at your history, and you only had about 3 or 4 years on the account you've got now. But
so
you had
I
a previous account.
Two separate accounts. That's correct. Yeah. So it's been around, I'd say 13 years, 14 years that I've been playing.
And have you
this season? Yeah.
Have you always enjoyed a bit of success, or was this a particularly good season?
I think I've had 3 top 50k finishes, but this has been my best season by far.
Nice.
Because I think you finished, was it about 2 or 3k? Was it last season in the end? overall?
Yeah, 2.8. I think 2,830 or something like that.
You know the number.
Impressive.
Really, don't you? You just,
Yeah, of course.
Playing it cool. You got it tattooed on your arm. So in terms of FFUK, obviously you came first in that, which is obviously why you're here.
Yeah.
During the season, how did the season sort of pan out for you? We've got some slides, so I'm going to. There we go. So that's the final league table we've got here. But in terms of last season, was there sort of a moment where you thought, I can win this mini league, or I can win all my mini leagues? I assume you did quite well in all of them if you won FFUK.
Yeah, and I came first in all my mini leagues. But there was no point where I thought, okay, I'm going to win this. I have a chance at winning this, especially before the game week 36. I think game week 34, I looked at the table, I took a screenshot, I sent it to my friends. I'm like, what do you guys think? Do I have a chance? Am I going to win this? But I don't think it was going to be possible, especially with because most of the teams above me had a very similar team to mine. So I had to do something different. And the good thing is I still had a triple captainship, which I didn't play, and most of them had played it on Salah game week 28. Mm-hmm. So I think around 34 is when I realized, okay, I might have a chance.
Yeah, because you really did come from behind almost. It wasn't like you were a front runner all season. Sometimes, I mean, every season's different, but sometimes someone gets to the front and they're basically there all season, aren't they, Pete? Or they're right up there.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, sometimes, it can be as early as, I don't know, Christmas, January, that you've got maybe even 1, 2 or 3 players that are all sitting there. I think that might have been the case when you won it the season before, or a couple of seasons ago.
I wasn't top, really. Steve was top for a lot of the season,
and Daz.
remember?
Yeah, Steve and Daz, but you joined them. But yeah, it was quite clear, I think, that one of you were going to win it, whereas was this season, it did seem a lot more open.
Yeah,
heavy
really
template.
Did. Yeah, well, I think we might be about to go through that again. So let's have a look at your season in a bit more detail. And we can see here on the screen we've got your game week history. It's probably a bit small for you guys to see, but everyone watching on their plasma screens at home will be able to see it. But and really the week I wanted to point out, you can see here with your chips that you played. Obviously, your first wild card was in game week 7, which is fairly normal, I would say. Then you free hit game week 18. So I guess that's around Christmas time, just before Christmas. Was that
just
for a
double?
Christmas. Was
it? I think it was a blank game week. If I'm not mistaken.
But you had 18. A good game week rank there because you got 50k game week rank, and then you sort of used all your chips in one kind of burst between 26 and 28 wildcard free hit bench boost. But it really did get you going back up that because you were over 1 million your rank before. Over 100,000. Sorry. With your rank before that, you started using those chips. So I think that was obviously key. But then the real one where it sort of you went into overdrive was 36, which was just insane.
And was that a KDB captain?
Yeah, so if we go to triple captain, it was KDB. So whilst all the idiots like us, Pete, were still on Salah.
Oh yeah.
The people who really made strides that week, if you remember, were people on De Bruyne. Because he went crazy in that double, didn't he?
I think the only reason Go ahead, Pete.
You go.
I was going to say the only reason I still had that triple captain is because I decided to wildcard, because you saw how I played the 3 chips in 3 game weeks in a row. So I decided to wildcard free hit bench boost, and I thought that would be better for my team for the next 3 weeks, and I didn't even look at the individual players at all. So that's why I held on to Salah. I held on to triple captain and didn't play Salah. But I think if my team was shaped up to be like everyone else's, I probably would have played Salah triple captain. It was just purely because of how my team was because it was going bad. It was doing very bad heading into the Christmas break. So I decided to use those 3 chips and hold on to triple captain for later.
Yeah, well, it certainly worked. And were you, in terms of last season, were you sort of on Mo most of the time, or did you, as in captaincy, or do you flip around a bit?
I think I was on Mo most of the time, and I had Son a lot. I played captain as well on defenders some game weeks, but yeah, most of the time it was definitely Mo, and purely because of the downside risk of not captaining him because everyone else is.
Yeah, and we're sort of seeing that again, aren't we, this season? Probably
Well,
even more so.
I mean, it just shows with that heavy template, you make a move like the KDB triple captain, and it pays off, and how dramatic it affects your rank. It doesn't always work like that, but in this case, it's such a massive swing.
Yeah, I suppose the flip is you could, if you get it wrong, the swing is the other way. But
of course,
yeah, I mean, it's called upside chasing, I think.
Yeah.
In the game, it's a poker term. But yeah, it's definitely if you plan those little moves, you don't want to be taking risks like that all the time, I don't think. But if you sort of take those moves, and De Bruyne, I think I'm right in saying, Ossama, you might remember he'd been benched the previous week. So the thinking
true.
was because of that, because there have been people who've
He's
been burned
definitely
by
playing
that.
both games. Yeah.
That's
yeah, definitely.
And you think he's going to play both games. He is arguably the best player in the league, and it's a no-brainer.
And the title race was so tight. Yeah.
Yeah. And Salah had looked off form. We were still kind of clouded a little bit by his pre-AFCON form, weren't we?
I took him off as soon as AFCON was done, and I had De Bruyne in my team instead of Salah. So I spent that big budget on De Bruyne instead of Salah. Meanwhile, most of the other players had Salah on.
Yeah, and I think you can probably accredit your win, not purely down to that, but that was a massive part of it because of that.
I mean, look at Ben Foster, that big 14.
Yeah, you maybe Ben Foster and De Bruyne, then, the two of them together. Brilliant. It's amazing. I mean, a game week like that is absolutely what you need at that point of the season. The season before, I had a really good season, and in that exact game week, I played my bench boost and kind of got a similar kind of score, and it was that got me into contention, and then from there, it's up to you to obviously win it. But no, it's amazing, and really good to see as well, because if you'd just done it gradually, I think everyone would think, well, he's just a really, he's just a better player than everyone. But actually, it's about finding these moments, isn't it? And anyone can do that. Anyone can see a moment,
as soon as the game week 36 as soon as the double game week 36 fixtures were announced, and I saw City with those two fixtures, I'm like, I'm holding my triple captain for Kevin De Bruyne on game week 36, and I have decided that, and I stuck with it.
I wish I'd done that.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so I'm going to flip to a bit more of tactics, strategy, which is, do you have a golden rule for FPL? Is there something you always do or don't do?
Yeah, no United players.
Really?
Yeah.
That's why you won last season. Okay, so they had their worst season ever.
The season before, of course, Bruno Fernandes had a great season, and I had him on my team. But then, like, watching United this season, this is like the last season, they had done just very, very poorly, and people jumped on Ronaldo very quickly. I think I probably had him for a game week or two, but then I'm like, I'm done with Manchester United players.
Okay, so this is a fairly recent rule then. This is a recent rule that you've
and I'm sticking with it for the season too.
Okay. Well, that could be interesting then. Okay. Well, I don't know if you know, but a few seasons ago, there was an Everton fan who won FPL, won the whole game, and his only rule was, I'm not going to pick any Liverpool players. And he won the whole game, which was obviously he won the whole thing. But that was before Salah came along, I have to say.
Oh yeah.
I think if you did that rule in the last 4 years when Salah's been here, or 5 years, that you're not
chance
winning
you finish in the top 100k. Yeah.
I don't think you would. I really don't think you would, because you'd be making so many risky decisions to try and catch up. Okay, well, that's a good golden rule, I think. What about formations then, Ossama? What about, do you have a formation that you stick to? Are you flexible? Have you changed over the years?
I think usually what I've stuck to is 3-5-2. That's the one that's probably my most used formation. 3-5-2, and purely because midfielders get more points for scoring goals than forwards. They also get a point for clean sheets, and they have, like, wingers have a higher chance of scoring and assisting in the same game. But moving forward in the way football's played today in the Premier League, I think it's all about the defenders. Now it's all about the defenders. There's just too many options. There's Trent, Robertson, you've got the Chelsea fullbacks, you've got Perisic now joining Tottenham. So I think the fullbacks are probably going to get the most points this year. So for this year, I probably won't play a formation that's less than 4 defenders. So it's either 4-4-2 or 5-3-2.
Interesting. So from the sounds of that, it's changing then and I think that's probably the sign of a good manager, is adapting to the changes,
playing the wing backs.
I think that's exactly. Trent has really, he's broken the game or changed the game, depending on which way you look at it. He's insane. His numbers and his attacking output for a defender. So I think we're there with you on that one. Okay, I've got the next question is like quick fire. Choose one of the 2 players. So this might give us an idea of who you're picking in your team. So Haaland or Kane? Who do you prefer?
Haaland, definitely Haaland.
Prefer Haaland. Okay. Son or KDB?
KDB.
I was going to say, you had to say that really after your win last season. What about this one? Maybe with a Man United bias, not on Bruno Fernandes or Sterling.
I think for the season, Sterling. If Sterling was still at Manchester City, I would probably say Bruno Fernandes. But because he's joined Chelsea, I think he'll start playing on the left wing, and it seems like Chelsea are aiming to play more attacking football with Sterling, and they're also chasing to sign Gnabry, but then he signed a new contract with Bayern. I think Sterling will probably outscore Bruno Fernandes this year.
Okay, I hope you're right as a fellow Chelsea fan. Okay, and final one, Cancelo or Robertson? This might be the hardest one of the lot.
It is a very hard one. When I look through these questions, that's probably the hardest question, but I think I'll stick with Andy Robertson.
Oh, really? You go him over? Yes. And what about if you had Trent as well? Would you still choose that as your?
I'd go for Andy Robertson, yes.
Okay, interesting.
Okay.
Well, that gives us a bit of an idea of half your team, maybe.
All right, so this is a favourite question. Who and in what order are going to finish in the top 4 this season? Who do you think is going to win it? The league?
I think Manchester City will probably win the league again, especially adding Haaland to their attack. I think they'll definitely.
They were so good last season.
Very, very good last season, and then now they've added probably one of the best strikers in the world right now, which is the piece that they've been missing. So I think Man City will probably win the league again. This might sound a bit biased, but I'd say Chelsea 2nd and Liverpool 3rd, and Spurs in 4th.
Yeah, sounds solid. I like it. I hope you're right about Chelsea.
Okay. And what about relegation?
I hope they
sorry.
With the league.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be nice. But I think it's asking a lot, isn't it?
It's a big ask. And then I was going to follow up with, and who's going to be relegated? Is it the obvious 3 up? Who do you think? Do you think there's someone else in there that might suffer?
I think
Everton got pretty close last year.
Fulham's going to continue their pattern of going up and down. I think that Fulham will go back down. I think Nottingham Forest will go back down. And I think Southampton will get relegated this season.
Wow. Ooh. Okay. Interesting.
You won't be having James Ward-Prowse then in your team?
No.
No?
Despite the free kicks, no.
Yeah, amazing free kicks. Okay. So you've obviously had a chance to look at player prices. Who do you think is the most underpriced player in the game? Or maybe a couple that you've seen that you think these are bargains?
Yeah. I think an obvious one is, Marcus Rashford. at 6.5. Now that Erik ten Hag's the new coach, and I think Rashford will probably play more minutes for Manchester United. I think he will outscore his scores from last season, and at 6.5, like he was 9 million last season, and then he just jumped down 2.5 million. I think he's very underpriced. I also think Edouard Mendy's underpriced at 5. I expected him to be at least 5.5. So that's a keeper you can have on your team for the rest of the season without having to change it. And also, another player who's underpriced is probably Mason Mount at 8 million.
Okay.
You're predicting a big season for Mount then, you think?
Big season for Mount, yes.
Okay, so in terms of Chelsea, obviously that's probably one of your specialist subjects. Who's the front three then for Chelsea? Most of to start the season, let's say.
To start the season, yeah. I think they'll play Sterling, Havertz, Mount.
Yeah. Okay, and that's pretty good, isn't it?
And
I mean, that's a tasty front three.
Yeah, and that also gives. Yeah, I was just going to say Pulisic might probably get some minutes on the front three, and then he'll drop Mount back. But Mount playing in the front three will also allow Gallagher to have more minutes behind. And he's looked very good this preseason, Conor Gallagher. Like the first.
So you think he'll be in the two? He could be in the two behind, in the two in the centre.
Definitely. Alongside Kovacic.
I think he would need a Mount. He would need a Mount on his side maybe to help him out a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. And you think, let's stick on Chelsea for a minute. Do you think we're going to continue to play 3 at the back, or do you think he's going to move to a 4, or do you think it'll be a bit of a mixture?
I think he's definitely going to stick with 3 in the back and signing Koulibaly, and they're also bidding for Koundé right now. I think the 3 in the back will, if Chelsea were able to sign Koundé, it will be Koundé, Thiago Silva, and Koulibaly, with Reece James on the right and Chilwell on the left. If they don't sign Koundé, I think just Chalobah will start, and they'll play Chalobah, Thiago Silva, and Koulibaly as a back 3, and then they'll have Reece James and Chilwell as the fullbacks. I think he will definitely stick to 3.
I hope so. Okay, that's interesting. I hope so, because I think it gets the best out of Chilwell and James if we play wing backs, and also I think it's really the only. I'm not sure Thiago Silva can play 4 either as a 4 either.
That's very true, yeah. Thiago Silva at this age. And I think he'll probably need a centre-back, 2 centre-backs alongside him, so 3 at the back works perfectly fine. Towards the end of last season, you saw that Thiago Silva was by far one of the best defenders in the league.
His quality is undoubted. It's just his legs
definitely.
And his body, really.
It's just football.
We'll have to see how well it can hold up. Yeah, he's amazing, and it's amazing really that no one else went in for him. When why weren't Barcelona in for him or someone, because they seem to go for all the players we want to get. So that's really unusual.
Who knows where they get the money from?
Well, that's a whole nother podcast or video, I think, and we're going to go and discuss that one. So we've got some questions as well. So from the community. So we asked in our little WhatsApp group if anyone had any questions, and they did. So Pete, go for it.
Yeah, I've got, first up, we've got a question from Adam Alouf, who asked, do you prefer stats or the eye test? What's your preference? What's your method?
I think I definitely prefer stats. I always go for the stats over the eye test. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Before deciding on a player, I always look at who they're playing, and I look at their defensive stats, how many goals they've conceded, from which flank they concede the goals. I also look at the attackers, the forwards, the attacking team stats. Yeah, definitely. I very big stats man.
I mean, where'd you get your stats from usually?
Mostly from just FPL Twitter. Like so many FPL accounts on Twitter that always post different stats about different teams and players and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little bit concerned because I'm a big stats follower as well, and I look at all those things and don't seem to have that same level of success.
I think you're looking at the wrong stats.
Well, You have to draw your own conclusions there. I can't think what that could possibly be, Pete.
I did Salah last season. Anyway, back over to you then, Chris.
Thank you. Next question is from John Parkinson, and he asks about your sort of ask a question about making up your squad, really. So he asks, do you usually aim to spread your cash around the squad, or do you like to maximize the value of your starting 11?
Mm-hmm. No, I always aim to have a strong bench as well. So I like to have an all-round team. I don't focus all my money on my starting 11, and that's what I'm trying to do right now for the new season. So for all my drafts, I've got 3 players on the bench who are starters and 3 players who definitely will play, because the risk of rotation is very high, and as we go through more and more seasons and through the years, managers like to rotate more players, especially because we have many tournaments and players are playing many more games than they were in the past. So risk of rotation is very high, and I think it will be this season. So yeah, I try to focus my budget on the entire team and not just the starting 11.
Interesting. Okay, Pete, what's next? What have you got next?
Okay, so question from Steve Cronin, my little brother. He's not particularly little. Are you gambling on any players in your first squad? So yeah, so I think what he's trying to get at is there anyone you're leaving out? So Harvey wrote an article recently suggesting that maybe we don't bring in any brand new players to the Premier, such as Haaland, or is there someone you're massively punting on? Talk us through it. Talk us through your thinking.
Yeah, I think if a player has proven himself outside, the Premier League is harder to play than any other leagues. So I do think that the stats will probably go down. I don't think Haaland will score as many goals as he did in the Bundesliga last season, but he will still have a big impact, I think, compared to the other strikers. So I don't particularly agree with the Harvey rule. I do have Haaland in my team, and I think I definitely will have him for game week 1.
Okay.
But I don't. That doesn't mean I'll rely heavily on new incomers. It's just the standout players that are coming into the league that I think they're bound to do well. I will have them on my team.
Yeah,
okay.
Another example of a player who came in from a foreign league and hit the ground running is Bruno Fernandes, who you mentioned earlier. And imagine if no one had gone for him when he came in, and I think he scored 4 or 5 goals in the first four weeks. So I think you probably hit the nail on the head there with your answer that maybe it's the biggest players, the premiums, the guys who are coming in for mega money. Maybe you can go for them straight away, but then again, for every Bruno and Haaland, there's a Lukaku,
Pogba.
or a Pogba, yeah, exactly. So,
yeah,
and there are loads of examples of players who come over for high prices and not done very well. Timo Werner, not that long ago, everyone was talking about having him in their team, and it was about 4 or 5 weeks before he scored. I think he got an assist in the first week, but that was it. I can remember because I was on him.
Hard times.
It really was. Okay, next question. Another question from John Parkinson, and that is generally how many game weeks ahead do you like to plan? And that's from the start of the season. He's talking about really, and specifically for this season, really. And is it different for this season?
Yeah, I think it differs for every season, depending on the fixtures, depending on what other tournaments, international breaks, and so on. I think for this season, because there's the World Cup that's happening, and there's a new rule where after game week 16, everyone technically gets to reset their teams without any hits. So it's basically like another free wild card. So we have to use our first wild card before game week 16. So ideally, I'd probably use it around game week 8 or 9, which is in the middle. So for me, I think I'm going to plan for the first 8 or 9 weeks. So I've set my team up, my drafts up for the first 8 or 9 game weeks, and then I'll play a wild card, game week 8 or 9, and that wild card will be focused on game weeks 9 to 16. because then we have the World Cup break, and then everyone has a wild card after that, a free wild card to use. And then we also have the January wild card. So
yeah, that sounds
game weeks,
very sensible.
So I'm planning for game weeks 1 to 8 or 9.
Nice. I like that. It sounds so set. It sounds like such a solid plan.
Yes,
we're picking up loads of tips here, Pete. I hope you're writing all this down.
I'll probably end up not using them because I like to go crazy at the start of the season, have some fun. But we'll see what happens. So next up, we have a question from Richard Willis Hutchinson, who asks, do you listen to any podcasts at all, any FPL podcasts? And if so, what do you recommend?
I actually don't listen to any FPL podcasts on YouTube or anything like that. I get most of my information from Twitter. So there's a huge FPL community on Twitter, and there are so many accounts that have so many stats, different spreadsheets, different like information there, histories and stuff like that. And that's where I get most of my information from. There's also some accounts that update you on injury news, transfer news, all that sort of thing.
Can I ask a follow-up question then, which is because I always find this quite interesting, and there are some quite successful FPL players that don't necessarily watch a lot of football. In the sense that they might only watch match of the day each week, but not be watching the 5 games or whatever on the weekend. Are you a diehard football watcher, or do you mix it up a bit?
Yeah, definitely diehard football watcher. I try to watch all the games as much as I can. So if there's like 3 different kickoff times, then I'll have like a whole planned day set for all those 3 kickoff times, and I'd watch multiple games at the same time if I could.
It's going to be bliss. Roll on the new season.
Yes. What is it, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks to go? 3 weeks to go.
Less than 3 weeks, yeah, just over 2 weeks. Just over 2 weeks. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we've only got one more question, but it's about your game week 1 team. So obviously, you've probably got a draft that you're hopefully happy with, but it might change a little bit. But in terms of when you pick your team, who are your top 3 players locked in your team? And there is a caveat to this question, and it's assuming you've picked Salah and Trent after those 2. So firstly, have you got Salah and Trent in your team?
I've got Salah. I don't have Trent.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So after Salah, then who's the top 3 picks that you sort of, you're pretty sure you're going to start with? Don't worry, we won't hold it against you if you change your mind.
No. These are definitely locked in, and I've got Reece James, Andy Robertson, and Haaland. Those 3 are set in stone for game week 1, and I've picked Robertson instead of Trent. Last season, after I think it was like game week 28 or something, when I played my wild card, I put in Robertson in my team instead of Trent, and he outscored him by quite a bit. Trent was also rested 1 more extra game, I think, than Robertson, and yeah, when Robertson played down the left and he had Diaz playing on the left wing in front of him, his stats were just so much better than Trent, and I think that's how they're going to start the season again this year. And you also save 0.5 in the bank.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't notice that earlier. We didn't talk about that earlier, but definitely that was another reason, probably why you had that really strong finish. Was we were all sitting on Trent and sitting on Salah, and as you say, Trent wasn't quite as good as he always is. I think they're probably going to end up on very similar points at the end of the season, but Trent got his points in the first half of the season, whereas Robertson got more in the second half. So
that's correct.
Yeah, and I guess that's the logical thing would be to suggest that will continue now.
That's my logic behind it.
Yeah, no, well, that's definitely given me some food for thought. Pete, has it helped you with your selections?
Absolutely. Really quite fascinating. I like the Robbo Diaz connection there. So I think I've got both at the moment anyway, so I don't have to worry. But yeah, very interesting stuff.
Yeah, really good, and I'm sure everyone, when they get to watch this, will love it on the channel as well. And so thank you so much, Ossama, for doing that. Really appreciate it. Just one quick bit of housekeeping at the end. If there's anyone watching this that hasn't yet joined the FFUK League, then make sure you do. All the codes and the payment information is on the website, ffuk.me. And there's a new season post on there with all the info. And we've also got the info up on the side games. So everything's in play now. So and any as always, really, any questions or any comments or ideas, get in touch. But yeah, once again, thank you so much, Ossama, for doing this evening.
Yeah,
it's been really interesting to chat to you and get your advice. And I would say good luck to you for next season, but I wouldn't mean it, because obviously we're all competing against each other. So, but no, hopefully you'll be back in the league next season. I'm sure you will be, and we'll all be trying to win that prize and that coveted trophy from you, to be FFUK champ. So thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been my pleasure. I'm looking forward to competing with you guys again this season.
Definitely. Bring it on game week 1. Cheers, guys. Okay, well, thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you all soon. Cheers. Bye now.